Got us here a new battery from the folks over at Siekon. Let's take a look. Now this was in another box for shipping, so there was a box inside of a box, but I already took it out of that box. Got a manual here. These are pretty thin foam. And our battery. So the foam packaging is not super impressive here. Pretty thin foam around the entire battery, but it was boxed inside of a box. So, and a bag of bolts here with 4 sets of lugs. Look like these ones are a little tiny bit longer than the other ones, and 2 protective caps. As you see, blank all the way around except for the front, which is a Siekon 12.8 volt, 100 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. Classics. And, you know, your basic information and your basic logos here. I actually have a lot to say about this battery. So what we're going to do really quickly here, we're just going to do a quick capacity test. And when I say quick, it's not quick for me, it's quick for you. It actually takes about 6 hours to do one of these capacity tests. I'm going to transfer the power from this to my big power station over here at about 30 amps, which is about 480 watts. And we'll see if we can get our 100 amp hours. I'm going to go ahead and set this to 105 amp hours, and we're going to see how much over the 100 amp hours that we can get. All right, so we got 104.4 amp hours out of this 100 amp hour battery. I really try to make my reviews so that they're not too overwhelming for beginners by tearing batteries apart and showing the BMS and the wiring and all that kind of stuff. And I want to try to keep some of the technical jargon to a minimum. I'm a techie guy myself, and I love that stuff, so I watch a ton of different channels who do go over all the internals of the battery. But similar to the computer industry or any other tech product, I don't think it's necessary to show that stuff for 95% of people to see, or in order to understand it in that much detail, to like use it in everyday life or whatever. And this one really made the rounds on all the other channels that I watch. So I've watched at least about 10 probably other reviews of this battery where I've seen it torn apart, put through its paces, test it out, demonstrating all the wiring and all that stuff. And here's what I can tell you about it from all of that. So even though it's stated in the manual that it's 100 amp BMS, it's actually 150, which is great. So they're actually underrating this battery rather than inflating its capacities. And that's kind of a refreshing change of pace from what we've seen from the past couple of years or so with other companies and what they've been doing. I'd never recommend exceeding the recommended rating on this battery, and in this case that's 100 amps continuous discharge on any sort of regular basis. But it's nice to know that it's there if you needed it or whatever. One of my favorite creators is Will Prowse, and he was able to pull 300 amps off this battery for a short period of time using some sort of a car lift or something. And he's got all kinds of super heavy equipment and stuff, can really put this stuff to the test. I don't even have the capability to pull 300 amps to put that to that sort of a test. So I'm not even going to bother trying. And I would never recommend doing that anyway. That's why I kind of want to keep it on my channel a little more simple. Because a lot of these other channels are doing things that you just really shouldn't try to do in real life with your equipment. It's nice to know that the capability's there for stuff, but I don't want to promote the idea that you should do some of these things. And then I'm not saying they're trying to do that. They're just trying to demonstrate what the capabilities are, and they're doing a great service. I want to focus more on the beginner who's just trying to build a system that's capable, and that's what I want to focus on, and not have so much of this extreme testing and that sort of thing. That's not what my channel is really all about. Supposedly, they can pull up to 600 amps before the overcurrent protection kicks in. And that's pretty much insane. And would be incredibly difficult to even test 600 amps. I can't even do 300, never mind 600. And again, I would never recommend pulling 600 amps out of one battery. Like, you're just asking for trouble trying to do that. But it's nice to know that it's there. But just be reasonable. All right, so all the other guys tore this battery apart can confirm that it uses grade A EVE cells. The build quality is top notch. It uses a good quality BMS made by a reputable BMS manufacturer called JBD, and the low temp charge protection actually does work, which has been a problem for some of the other newcomers to the scene, just trying to sell a cheap battery. So it's good to know, and that's been a thing that's been repeatedly tested on a lot of other channels to make sure that the cold temp protection, charge protection works whenever they say that it does, and this one does. I don't see the need to cut it apart just to show you that works. That's not worth it to me, especially if somebody else has already done it, and I can just tell you, all the people that I trust have tested it, and it works. That's what I care about. So the testing results substantially exceeded the specifications. I was able to pull 104.4 amp hours out of it. Others that I saw got over 105 or more. And the surge capacity is incredible. The build quality is great. It's essentially a premium battery that's being sold at a budget price. I don't know how they were able to do that, but I guess they were able to achieve that by cutting a few corners on the packaging, using some thinner foam and a smaller box and some no-frills design and the label here and the manual. They eliminated the fancy pearlescent cardstock and the fancy zippered plastic pouch to hold the fancy manual. And they don't give you any stickers, any of that, these frilly things that all cost them money. And then they poured that extra money into actually doing what matters and making a quality battery using decent parts. This battery looks really basic and simple, and let's face it, it's just a battery. Do we really need all these frills? I don't know. At the end of the day, we all pay for all that pearly paper and zip pouches and fancy boxes and foam packaging one way or another. So I think they've got a great strategy going on here by focusing on the build quality and cutting the fat in all the right places in order to keep the price low. This battery's on par with a high-end Battleborn battery that costs over $900. And they're selling this Siekon for $230 as their regular price. And right now, it's actually even cheaper than that, because at the time of this recording, they have a $35 coupon available on Amazon right now that brings this down to $195. That's pretty crazy that you could buy 4 of these for less than one Battleborn battery. I'll go ahead and leave links down in the description where you can find this battery with the coupon and stuff on it on the Amazon's website, as well as on their official website. I think they have a coupon on there as well. So you might want to check the two and compare and see which one can get you the better deal. So, nothing doesn't have a con, but my con on this is pretty kind of stupid, really. My main issue with this battery is that it's a Group 31 size. And, that's kind of, like I said, that's being pretty petty when I get down to it, because I have a whole bunch of Group 31 size batteries, and I've always loved them. They're great in that they offer a lot of protection inside the case. There's all this foam padding in here and that sort of thing. It makes them extra rugged for a harsh environment, like off-roading vehicles and whatever, things like that, But it also makes them have a bigger footprint. And I've been a bit spoiled this year because there's so many companies that have been making these lithium batteries in the smaller sizes, like the Group 24 and the minis and all that sort of thing. So in the past year, there's been an onslaught of the smaller Group 24 size battery that still offers some level of foam protection on the inside of the battery, because it's still not taking up the entire inside of the case with a Group 24. And that at this time is my preferred size. I don't go off-roading or need something super rugged or nothing like that. So a Group 24 is a nice sort of in between the mini that offers almost no protection with the foam on the inside to be rattled around and jarred around and stuff, and something that can. So, they've had this whole slew of mini-sized batteries that are even smaller, and they remove almost all of the foam protection around the cells and the inside of the battery. And I love them too, but there's no standard size that's been developed yet that go with the term mini. Every manufacturer seems to be using a different case dimension at this stage of the game for the ones they label as a mini. The good news is Siekon also sells a Group 24 size battery as well, which, as I said before, is my favorite size. But the confusing thing is the Siekon is calling the Group 24 size a mini. I don't have one of their Group 24/minis to test it out, but if they're built as well as this one, I'd be over the moon with them. And it's only about $10 more for that one too. So I don't know. I think I'd be tempted to try it out, the Group 24. I said, unless you want a Group 31. The Group 31 definitely has its place. So anyway, I think this is a great deal, especially if you're in a situation where you need to pull a lot of amps for things like starting up a motor or pumps and things like that. They're notoriously heavy loads. And if you picked up a 4-pack of these, you could probably power just about anything. And you'd be in it for less than a single Battleborn battery and still be less. So I think it's a great deal. I think it's a pretty solid battery. And it gets an A+ from me. If you want to see some of my other battery reviews, I'll go ahead and drop a link to that video right here. And my most recent video, I'll drop a link to that right down here. That's the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.